you're living in Louisville and you're wondering whether you should rent or buy property, then you're not alone. One of my most commonly asked questions for my YouTube subscribers and my potential home buyers is whether they should rent or buy. So if you're moving to Louisville and you're asking yourself this question, be sure to stick around because in today's video, we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of renting versus buying in Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome back. I'm Katie Skeen, a local realtor here in Louisville, Kentucky. And on my channel, we discuss all things related to living in and moving to Louisville, Kentucky. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of renting versus buying in Louisville. Now, before we jump in, if you find any value in my videos, would you go ahead and give a thumbs up and like this video and also subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on any of my upcoming content. First, let's talk about renting. Now, renting has several advantages over buying, especially if you're not quite sure that you're ready to commit to home ownership. So let's talk about several of the pros for renting property. The first pro is flexibility. When you rent, you have more flexibility. If you get a job change or you have a family circumstance change, you're not as tied down. Typically, you're signing an annual lease, or maybe even you've signed a lease that's month to month. But either way, you're not looking at a 3 to 5 to 10-year horizon in the same way that you are with home ownership. Another advantage to renting is that there are lower upfront costs. When you're thinking about purchasing a home, you're going to need that down payment. But with renting, you're probably only doing a security deposit that might be close to 1 month's rent or even less than that. So you're only going to need a few $1,000s to get started as a renter, whereas with a homeowner, it's going to be significantly more money. Additionally, you're not going to be paying property taxes and homeowners insurance. Now, it is always recommended that you get renter's insurance, but that renter's insurance is not going to be as expensive as homeowners insurance. When you close on a home, you're often having to prepay some of the taxes and insurance. So that's another big upfront cost that you need to plan on for home ownership. None of these costs are relevant for renters, and so that's why it makes it more affordable to get started as a renter. Another advantage for renting is that you will have less maintenance responsibilities. Now, when you have a landlord, they are often covering and taking care of any repairs around the house. So if you have a plumbing repair or an electrical repair, it is the landlord's responsibility to fix that for you. Sometimes rentals include outside maintenance, sometimes they don't, but you're not having to worry about maintaining a home. You're not having the cost and the time that it takes to be able to do that. That is all on your landlord's shoulders. The last pro of renting is that it is a short-term commitment. Now, we mentioned this earlier, but if you're moving to Louisville for the first time, you might want to have some time to get settled in, to learn more about the community and the different neighborhoods that are here, to really find the one that's the best fit. When you've been living in Louisville 6 to 12 months, it just gives you more time. Also, when you're here locally for house hunting, that can be an advantage to you. So many of my clients end up deciding to rent month to month for 3 to 6 months while we go ahead and look for that home that they're interested in. Now, renting is not all glamorous, so let's take a look at some of the cons associated with renting. The first is that you have limited control as a renter. All of the major decisions about your property are going to be made by your landlord. So if you're very particular about the style of your home, or the maintenance of your home, or the type of mechanical things inside your home, you are not going to have control over that. You're not going to get to choose when it's time to replace the roof or the HVAC or any of those things. If you want to paint, sometimes the landlord will let you do that and sometimes they won't. So if you want to be able to express your own personal style through changing light fixtures or bathroom fixtures or the paint color, you're not going to have as many opportunities to do this. And even if they do let you do that, you're putting money into a property that's not yours. So you're making upgrades to something that you're not even going to see any return on your investment. The next con of renting is that you're not building any equity. Now, this is a big deal because homeownership really is part of the American dream, in a way that many people have been able to do that is through purchasing a home. So when you're renting, you're not seeing that appreciation that homeowners are seeing. When you rent, you're not going to see a return on that money that you're spending. Now, it's typical in our area to see about 4 to 5% appreciation. In some areas of Louisville over the last few years, we've actually seen double-digit appreciation. So homeowners are thrilled right now because they've seen so much return on their investment. You are not going to have this when you are a renter. Another thing you need to keep in mind is a lot of potential homeowners are very concerned about the interest rate. Now, interest rates have gone from, 6% up to 8%, and they're starting to come back down over the last 12 months. But the thing about it is this, when you're a renter, you're actually paying 100% interest because none of that money is going into any principal payment. None of that money is going into something that is an investment for you. Another con of renting is that there are no tax benefits. So when you're a homeowner, you actually have several write-offs. You can write off the interest that you paid. And so this can change the dynamic of what you pay in your taxes. Renters do not have this advantage. The last con is that it's less stable. Renters just simply don't have the stability that homeowners have. A lot of people like to feel rooted and grounded in a sense of belonging. When you're a renter, it never quite feels like home. Additionally, once your lease is up, if your landlord has decided to sell that property, there might not be a guarantee that they would sign another lease with you, causing you to move, even if you don't necessarily want to. Now let's take a look at home ownership. Now you're going to notice that the cons of renting are actually the pros of home ownership. The first pro is equity building. You are more than likely going to see appreciation over time. Now a lot of people ask the question, how long do I have to live in my home to see that? I usually recommend a minimum of 3 years. This is not a hard and fast rule. A lot of people feel differently about this, but I think on average, if you stay in your home 3 years or longer, it could be a good idea for you to purchase. Now, with the double-digit appreciation that we've seen in the last few years, some homeowners are staying in their house 1 to 2 years and seeing a good amount of appreciation, but you're gonna wanna make sure, check with a trusted realtor and of course your tax professional, because there could be tax consequences for you if you are deciding to sell after living in the home for less than 2 years. Another pro of home ownership is stability and control. You are in control of when you decide to move, when you decide to sell, whether or not you want to stay in that house. Nobody's telling you what to do. As far as home maintenance, you are the one making the calls and deciding what kind of, furnishings and equipment and all of those mechanical things. You are deciding when to do that. You're also paying for those things. But of course, the design style as well, like we talked about, you can really personalize and make the property your own. You can put in different light fixtures and bathroom fixtures and paint colors and really express your unique personality through your home. Of course, there are those tax benefits that we mentioned where you can deduct your interest, and there are some tax benefits as well. Now, lastly, and this is important, there are no rent increases when it comes to home ownership. Now, of course, it depends on what kind of loan product that you've chosen, but in most cases, people have either chosen a 30-year fixed or a 15-year fixed interest rate. And so your payments are likely going to stay the same. Now, they can change slightly if you're escrowing your taxes and insurance, depending on when your property is getting reassessed. But as a general rule of thumb, your payment is staying the same over time. Your principal and interest payment should be staying the same over the life of the loan if you've chosen one of those fixed rate loan products. This is not the case with renting. Now, landlords often will like to increase the rents as you stay there every year. So you're not going to have the control and stability of that consistent monthly payment when you're a renter. So let's talk about some of the cons of home ownership. Now, I'm just going to mention a few to you, but I think the biggest con that most people see is the higher upfront cost. Not only the higher upfront costs, but also the costs ongoing to maintain the home. A lot of people think that they need 20% down to be able to purchase a home. If we're looking at a price point of around $300,000 here in Louisville, that's going to be $60,000 that you're going to need just for your down payment. That doesn't include all of your closing costs. So there's just a lot of upfront expenses to home ownership. Of course, you have those ongoing expenses as well. You have property taxes, you have insurance, you have maintenance costs. So there is a lot of financial responsibility when it comes to home ownership. The last con is the long-term commitment. So this is a pro or con depending on your season of life. And so that's a really important point that we're bringing up. It depends on what you are valuing right now in this season as to what would be a best fit for you. If you're not familiar with the area, renting for 3 to 6 to 12 months could be a good option for you. If you are moving a lot, then renting could be a good option for you. But if you're really wanting to set down roots and you are wanting to build wealth, then home ownership really is something that you should be considering. Now, I want to take a look real quick at some of our most popular areas to live and what the average rents are in those areas. All of these screenshots are coming from my Rentometer account that I have, I think, and I don't know if it's Rentometer or Rentometer, maybe someone can tell me in the comments, but I find that the best rental comps actually come from this website. So let's take a look at some of our neighborhoods and what it costs to rent there. A very popular zip code for renters is the 40220 area. I have a lot of clients who enjoy living in Highgate Springs and Hikes Point. And so we see that the median rent for this area is $1,550. This is for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath rental. Another very popular area in our city is St. Matthews, which is 40207. You'll see that it is slightly more expensive to live in St. Matthews for that 3-bedroom, 1-bath house with a median rent of $1,870. The last area that I want to show you is J-Town, which is 40299. The 3-bedroom, 1-bath rental is going to have a median rental price of $1,450 per month. Now, it's important to realize some landlords offer this to include water. Most of the time, you're paying your own gas and electric bill, but sometimes landlords include that in the price. So it's important to ask what is covered in your rent when you're considering rent. Well, I hope you found this video helpful as to whether you should rent or buy. As you saw, there are so many pros and cons to both. You'll have to really process those in light of your own personal situation. If you're interested in more information about moving to Louisville, Kentucky, be sure to check out my video, Moving to Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.